Um, Man, so I'm gonna talk about a place that doesn't exist anymore, which makes me a little teary-eyed. I really am grateful for the solutions. And if anyone listens to this, if they do, I don't know if they do, right? Or if they will. But for the people who actually listen to this that are not like, me, who have experience with solutions, but for people who don't have any idea about solutions, man, there are stories on stories on stories on stories about the people. And I think that has a greater impact than you can actually know unless you can experience it. But the people who have touched my life, who were Solutions alumni or are Solutions alumni but lived at Solutions, the list is, I can't, I couldn't name all the people in 20 minutes probably. I mean, Erica, Jimmy, my sponsor, Eric, Donald, like the people who have probably had the biggest impact on my life are people who went through Solutions and stayed sober as a result. And they can tell you stories on stories. My favorite story is the Erica story of she had to make an amends, and she needed to make amends to Starbucks for stealing one of their umbrellas. And she goes to the house manager at the time, Billy Block, and she's like, I need to make amends to the Starbucks. And he's like, for what? And she's like, for taking the umbrella. Do you mind if I borrow the van? And he's like, not only can you borrow the van, I will take you, because he wanted to watch her make this amends. So they take the Solutions vans, they load this umbrella from Starbucks into the van, and they drive to the Starbucks on 16th Street, Bethany. And she's like, hey, so as a result of me getting sober through this program, I have to make amends for the things that I've done wrong. And I took your umbrella. And the girl standing there, of course, she's not the manager that was there, and she's just staring at her. And she's like, so I have your umbrella. They already replaced it. She's like, here's your umbrella back. What can I do to make it right? And the girl's just looking at her like, and she looks at her and she's like, did you also take the ashtrays? And Erica's like, no, I didn't take the ashtrays. I just took the umbrella. But that list goes on and on forever, man. Like the people who have touched my life that have been through Solutions, I will be forever grateful for the people who I never met, who I know stories of, that came through that place. I mean, I ended up at Solutions, honestly, tell you the truth, because my sponsor told me to go, because he went to Solutions and he lived down the street from Solutions and he paid my rent. And I get to Solutions and I'm in the front. I live in the front house. And I remember at the time, I'm 6 months sober when I get to Solutions. I've never sponsored a dude, never had a service commitment, because I couldn't at the time. I got my first home group, 7-Eleven, unloading chairs, because I lived there, and I would take 150 chairs every week, and I would unload them from the thing in the back, the whatever you call it in your yard where you store chairs, right? The shed. I would go to the shed and I would unload the chairs onto this little cart that fit about 20 chairs, and I would wheel those chairs about 45 yards from there to the grass field, and the grass has to be green. You know that. You water the grass stays green at the Solutions. That is part, the white picket fence and the green grass. That's the Solutions, right? So you feel like at home, and it starts to feel like home after a while, right? You live there and it literally starts to feel like your home. And I'd wheel those 20 chairs at a time, and probably take me 35, 45 minutes, set up the meeting. Everybody come have the meeting for an hour. And of course they leave without putting up their chairs. And then I would spend 35, 45 minutes taking those chairs, 20 chairs at a time, back. And it taught me a bunch, man. It showed me how to live life. I remember getting to Solutions, and I had never had access to meetings all the time. Like there were 3 to 5 meetings every single day right next to where I lived at. So I would literally walk from my room when I didn't have anything to do and I didn't know what to do with my hands at the time because I was brand new sober, and I would walk from my room to Solutions to the meeting hall, and I would sit in the meeting hall and I'd go to as many meetings as I could in a day. I would probably, in my first 90 days at Solutions, did 20 meetings a week because I didn't know what to do. Saturday and Sunday, I didn't have friends. I didn't know anybody. Like, all my friends were built in. There were, 100 people, 80 people, something like that lived there. And most of my friends lived there. Like, it was like a vacation. Like, I would like take a trip to go hang out with my buddies by going to the next room and go hang out with some dudes, Like, that was like the life for me at that time. And I learned a lot, man. That place gave me a lot. They let me get $400 behind on rent. And because I sponsored dudes and I had service commitments and I was trying to stay sober, they never once said anything. I think they pulled literally one time. I'm not lying. I was $400 behind on rent, and I think they pulled me in one time to ask me about my fees because they knew every time that I did my best to try. I always gave them my check. He gave me a little money for cigarettes, and I ate breakfast there and I ate dinner there every single day, 7 days a week. And if I had $10 to get some McDonald's, it was like, that was a luxury at the time for me. And I don't know, man, that kitchen room felt like a resort, literally. That little kitchen room felt like a resort to me because it was just, I was grateful, man. I was grateful to have a door to open and close for the first time, and I can't even remember how many years. I literally could not remember having a key and a door to my room and a door to the front, to the house. And I could open and close a door. I was like, I can close this door and be by myself. This is cool. And you can't, my ID still says 4210 North Longview. I still know the address. 9 years later. I got sober in 2011, and I still, if that doesn't give somebody the true implication of what this place means, oh man, you don't believe me? (4210 North Longview). To this day, I will never change that. A, it's a reminder. It's a big reminder of where I come from. And B, I love that place. That place saved my life, honestly. If I did not go to Salvation Army and then go to Solutions, I would not be sober. I sponsored my first dude because I didn't want to get kicked out. I saw a dude get kicked out my first day for not calling his sponsor and not doing meetings and not, because they give you enough rope to hang yourself, literally. They tell you that when you check in. I saw what happened when you didn't do it. So I was in this rush to get my first sponsee. And I got my first sponsee and my first service commitment, and I chaired my first meeting there. I closed and opened my first door in years. I got my first key. I did my first meditation outside of treatment there. I made my first friends there. I did so many firsts in that place. That place changed my life, man. It's a place that I'm sad that the solution doesn't exist, but I'm grateful that the Hope House and the New Solutions exist. Because Solutions, honestly, in my opinion, and my opinion is jaded, but I'm going to give you my opinion. My opinion is that Solutions produce some of the best people I've ever met in my life. People who genuinely care, people who know what it's like to receive a helping hand. And I think everybody that showed up at the Solutions was in a similar position in the sense that they had nowhere else to go and the Solution opened the door to them. I think that's kind of like the thing with Solutions people, and why Solutions people are so giving is A, you're required to. You get a strike for not getting strikes, right? They make you do dishes. You gotta learn to wash dishes and help other people. Take out the trash, water the grass, which was my first chore. God's in the dishes. I had to water the grass. And I actually liked watering the grass. If you were the grass watering dude, you were like the coolest chore guy. and I would water the grass right on 4210 North Longview because I was in the front building. And I would water that grass every single week. And I got that chore, and I think they kind of picked because it's supposed to rotate. But I think if you watered the grass really good, you got to stick with that chore. And even when I would get a strike, it would be like, go take out the trash. And like, when you move in, the person that takes you around to show you everything, man, it's making me remember, is always a resident. They always grab a resident. You go in, you do your little intake, and as soon as you walk out, they're like, hey, there's somebody walking by always. There's always somebody that lives there walking by, and they grab you, and then they take you, they show you the laundry room, they show you the donation closet, they tell you about breakfast, they show you the strike list, they show you the meeting hall, and then they show you, they give you the breakfast times, and they show you the list with all the names on it. I remember that. I forgot about that. That's been a long time. And I took some shoes that you gave me. I still have those shoes. You donated them. They were like some New Balance rock climbing shoes that I still have. I wear them as trail shoes. They're like trail shoes. I don't know why you donated them, but I remember you donated them. And I remember, I'll tell you, and I'll say a story. I remember, I haven't seen this guy in a long time. This guy gets out of prison like 20 years. And in our meeting hall, we have a TV. Right? There's a TV there, and it's got the cable box with all the channels. That's the one place that has cable, right? And I remember he got out of prison, and I'm sitting in there eating. And this is just the solutions way, right? If somebody needs help, you help. And I'm sitting in there eating, and this guy comes in, and he like looks at the remote, and he looks at the TV, and he like looks at me, and he's staring. And I'm like, what's up, man? He's like, I don't know how to work this. And I'm like, what? And he's like, they didn't have this when I went to prison. And I taught a dude that was like twice my age at the time how to work a television, because he had never used like a cable box. When he went in prison, it was just like TV channels change. And that's crazy to think about, like that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I guess I'll wrap it up with saying that, oh man, it makes me teary-eyed. If you don't know if Solutions is a good place, it's a great place. It's a place where first happens, where people learn to communicate and help each other. A place where you know you feel safe and protected and loved and cared about. A place where you're taught accountability. A place where you get to turn yourself, with the help of other men, you get to turn yourself into the person that you're going to become in the future. It's crazy to think about. I know everybody who's ever been at Solutions. I know people who started Solutions and I haven't met a day in my life. I know stories on top of stories on top of stories on top. I'm 9 years sober, so the people that are telling me these stories are 20 years sober. And they're still at 20 years sober telling stories of the Solutions in their mansions. I'm not even joking. They live in houses that are, I was a homeless, hope to die, drug addict who never accomplished anything, and the only degree I had was a prison degree. And I'm sitting in their house that's amazing with their kids and their wife and their cars, and they're telling me stories about when they got sober at Solutions. They were in companies, and their stories are about Solutions. That's what happens. You produce business owners. It produces doctors, lawyers. It produces parents. It produces brothers and produces sisters. It produces moms. It produces real citizens. And that's the truth of the Solution. Like, that place produces some of the best members of society, drug addict or non-drug addict. It produces real people. I think every person would benefit from going to Solutions, even though we don't accept anybody. But if we did, you know, you had a kid that just didn't listen, Solutions could really show them their lives, man. There's something cathartic about watering grass and reaching your hand out to somebody else, you know? And it's almost built into the culture. Like, you have to. You know when you get there, because of the people helping you, that you have to extend that same courtesy. It's so weird to think about that. You don't think about it because it's so normal for our culture and the Solutions, all the people who graduated the Solutions. And it's also the truth in like if the solutions need you to do anything, almost everyone's like, yep, cool, what do we need to do? Where you need me to show up at, I'll be there. You know, there are silver livings across Arizona who couldn't get an alumni to show up, and the solution gets hundreds of people to show up whenever they need their help. So truly grateful for solutions, and thank you for everything you've done for me, and I hope I continue to get back.